We're going to explain the linker command failed with exit code 1-inch error you might encounter in Visual Studio Code on your Mac when using Clang. This frustrating error usually means the linker, the part of the build process that combines your compiled code into an executable, has failed. Let's break down the common causes and how to fix them. 1. Missing or incorrect header files. The linker needs to know where to find the definitions of functions and classes you use in your code. If you're using external libraries or header files that the compiler can't locate, this error will pop up. Double-check that all #include statements in your code point to the correct header file locations. Ensure those header files are actually present in the directories specified. If you're using external libraries, make sure they're correctly installed and linked using the correct library paths. You might need to add include directories in your compiler settings within VS Code. 2. Incorrect linker settings. Visual Studio Code relies on your write single quote tasks.json write single quote, and sometimes write single quote c_cpp_properties.json on file to configure the build process. Ensure the linker flags, all for library paths, L for library names, in your build task are correct. A common mistake is misspelling library names or pointing to non-existent directories. Double-check the spelling of library names and the paths to your libraries in write single quote tasks.json. Verify that the paths are absolute or relative to the workspace correctly. Make sure the write single quote tasks.json write single quote file is correctly configured to point to the correct compiler and linker executables. 3. Linking problems with static and dynamic libraries. If your project uses both static .a and dynamic .dylib or .so libraries, there might be conflicts. Ensure you're consistently using either static or dynamic linking for all libraries to avoid clashes. If mixing both types, make sure the linker search order prioritizes the correct libraries. Carefully review your project's dependencies and linking strategy. If you are unsure, start with linking to all static libraries only to simplify debugging. 4. Undefined symbols. This indicates the linker can't find the implementation for a function or variable you're using. This often arises from typos in function names, missing source files, or forgetting to link a necessary library. Carefully review your code for any typos, especially in function and variable names. Make sure that all the source files containing the definitions of the symbols are included in your build process and that the libraries they are part of are correctly linked. Using debugging symbols helps pinpoint the exact undefined symbols. 5. Compiler and linker versions. Inconsistent versions of your compiler and linker can cause problems. While this is less common with Visual Studio Code's built-in integration, ensure you're using compatible versions. Check your Clang installation and ensure it's up to date. You can try reinstalling Clang or using a different version if available to test compatibility. 6. Build system errors. Even if your code compiles without errors, there may be underlying build system problems. Restart your VS Code and clean and rebuild your project. Sometimes cached build files can cause issues, so removing the build directory, often build or debug, and rebuilding can help resolve strange linker errors. Try manually compiling and linking using the command line to isolate potential VS Code issues. If that works, you know the problem lies in the VS Code configuration. Remember to check your build log for more specific error messages. They often pinpoint the exact problem, leading you directly to the solution. Debugging these kinds of errors is often a process of elimination, systematically checking each point until the problem is resolved.